All right, so let's talk for a second about calcium and calcium homeostasis. Calcium, our blood calcium levels really, really important. Why is that? So let's look at the functions of calcium. Why do we need calcium? Well, we need calcium for, all muscle movements. So contraction. Pretty important. We need calcium in blood clotting. Yeah, bleeding to death isn't so great. Synaptic transmission. Yeah, without it, your nervous system really doesn't work too well. Insulin. So insulin production and exocytosis into the blood. Pretty important. All right. So just looking at this alone, we really need calcium. Okay. If you have too little, so I don't know, hypocalcemia, you have decreased nervous system activity or reactivity. That wouldn't be good. If we have too much, that increases nervous system reactivity. So we need a balance. And if you remember from chapter 1, calcium homeostasis was within the blood calcium was like 9 to 11 milligrams per deciliter, something like that, but a very small range. So if you're too low, too below 9, not good. If you're too above 11, not good. Low calcium is way worse than too much calcium. If you have too little calcium or your blood calcium is very low, basically you're at death's door there. So where is calcium? So calcium ions, where are they in the body? Well, in the intracellular fluid, contains about 1%. In the extracellular fluid, that contains about 0.1%. The rest of it is stored in the bones. So bones are deeply affected by calcium homeostasis hormones. So if blood calcium is low, then we have hormones, which we'll talk about in a second, that affect osteoclasts. Because if blood calcium is low, we have to get calcium back in the blood. So we can affect osteoclasts to break down bone to increase calcium. If calcium is too high, we have osteoblasts that can store calcium and decrease blood calcium. This was also blood. Okay. So the main organ or gland that deals with that is the parathyroid gland. Because low blood calcium is the biggest concern. So we have a whole gland that is made just to monitor for low blood calcium. So if we have a parathyroid cell, parathyroid cells have receptors for calcium. And when blood calcium is low, the receptor knows this or picks that up. And remember, this is the gland. So the gland is the integrator. So it will secrete PTH. And where does PTH go? Well, of course, it goes in the blood. It's a hormone. So PTH goes into the blood. So what happens to it from there? Well, one of the things that it does is it goes to the bone. So it will go to the bone and target osteoclasts. And osteoclasts break down bone and put that bone into the blood. Another thing that parathyroid hormone does is it increases the making of calcitriol, which is the active form of vitamin D. So it increases calcitriol production. So we know, or you should remember, that the sun, when you sit in the sun, it has an effect on the skin. And in the skin has a precursor for calcitriol. And that precursor, when it is made from being exposed to the sun, goes to the liver, so it goes to the liver where it is processed and then further sent on to the kidney, where it is made into active calcitriol, which is vitamin D3. What does that vitamin D3 do? What does calcitriol do? Well, calcitriol increases calcium absorption, reabsorption in the kidneys. And it also increases calcium absorption in the digestive tract. Sorry, that got so small. So the parathyroid gland, or PTH, is vitally important for keeping calcium levels at 9, or at least 9. Okay, if it gets too below 9, the parathyroid receives that stimulus, secretes parathyroid hormone, and has these different targets to increase that level. The other organ involved is the thyroid gland. And it increases, or it secretes, calcitonin, which targets the bone. So it targets osteoblasts. So the extra calcium then is deposited into the bone to be stored. Okay, so that is how calcium homeostasis occurs, and that is how the parathyroid gland functions.